All right, I have the readers tonight because we got to do some Bible readings. Okay, so really the graphics behind me, whenever I show you something, folks, that's just to juice up your imagination. That's all it is, because there's no information given in them. It's just something to get you to have a, moment when we're talking about the biblical pictures of heaven. I need to talk to you about it in just a moment, though, before we get into it, because I want you to know where I'm coming from and where I'm headed with this. People are frustrating to talk to about heaven. Here's what I mean. You get with a regular old Southern boy. Now, I'm from Tennessee, so I'm not fussing at any of you all up here, because whatever y'all can do up here in Kentucky, we can do it in spades. We got hit with a capital H, you know what I'm saying? So, my pappy, my grandpa McHenry, he wore shoes so little that when he was younger, my dad said that he could come up to a chestnut burr and pop that open with his heel. That's how he got to his chestnuts. He just walked up to them in his barefoot heel and go, just roll them open, go down there and get his chestnut. He had just a leather on the bottom of his foot. So anyway, my point is this. I'm talking to people, good old Southern people, just like me, and you're trying to talk to them about heaven. And I'm not saying this is an exact conversation I've had with people, but this is the flavor of it. So they're talking to you and they're like, preacher, you think in heaven they'll have some good old bean and tater? And I'm like, fella, I believe you probably need to expand your mental horizons a little bit. You need to think bigger than just bean and tater. And then he's like, you mean I'll even like the bowl squash? No, that's not what I mean. People are very in tune with their physical likes and dislikes. What they're not in tune with is the idea and the flavor of what heaven is like. However, the Bible is rather consistent in its picture of the glorious nature. It's not easy to follow. Now you say, Tim, I don't get it. Why would it not be easy to follow what the Bible says? Here it's easy for me to follow other parts of the Bible, plan of salvation, worship of the church, things like that. Well, let's face it. Heaven is a spiritual place. And it's not something, when you talk about somebody's spirit, that you can just give an easy description of, like you're describing baptism. You know what I mean? It's not easy to describe that. If you're talking to somebody about what Jesus did for us, it's easy to picture somebody being crucified. You understand the concept of them hanging them up there on the cross. You don't get an easy picture of heaven, because immediately you're telling somebody you're going to a different realm in your mind. Okay? How do I get then a biblical picture of heaven? How do I get it up in here? Now, I may have spoken a little too soon just earlier, because Reed was asking me in Bible class about the question of, he didn't put it this way, but do all dogs go to heaven? That kind of thing. Well, even though the Bible does not picture pets per se in heaven, the picture of some of the spiritual representations around the throne were definitely animalistic in nature, okay? And I've got a graphic to kind of illustrate that. These are just rough graphics. I just pulled them off the internet, and they're not meant to be accurate in any way, because how are you going to be accurate giving a picture? It's just meant to elicit the imagination, okay? And that's what the reading from Revelation chapter 4 was meant to do with Brother Carey. If you compare Revelation 4 with the other pictures of heaven, then you begin to get a better idea of heaven, along with the impressions of Scripture that go with our emotional states. Now let me explain that. I hate to bore you all. I just want to tell you where I'm coming from, so you're not wondering, where's the preacher getting at with this? You know about your emotional state. You're angry. You're in love. You're happy, about something. You're tickled pink. You're just, laughing up a storm. You know about the different emotional states somebody can get in. You're feeling an extreme amount of sadness. You're feeling energized, excited. All of these different kinds of emotions that we express. The things that we have emotional-wise, you also cannot physically put in a bottle. You can't just really describe that directly. God says that heaven has those things. It has them. It's just that it has them in a way that people don't often think of. So what we're going to do is put into words the things that give you an emotional response on this earth. And when you get the emotional response, you get a picture of heaven. Okay. Picture number one, before we even get to the pictures. Picture number one. Heaven is a reunion. Thanksgiving's coming up. I'm going to see some people at Thanksgiving, some family. Now, some family you haven't seen in a long time, and you really love to see family. Some family you may not, be as excited about seeing. One of them, I owe him some money, so I'm not too excited about that. But you're excited about seeing people you haven't seen in a long time. Well, heaven, you're not going to owe anybody in heaven. You're excited about the reunion, right? So somebody says, what is heaven? I want a picture of heaven, Tim. Heaven is a reunion. The book of Hebrews says that God is there. The Apostle Paul said that for me to go on and pass away, for me to leave this body, he said, is far better for me because I go to be with the Lord. So the Bible is saying that Jesus is there, of course. And the Bible is picturing us as having that reunion with all of the faithful brethren. When the Apostle Paul was writing to the Thessalonians, in 1 Thessalonians, in chapter 4, we get that great picture of what happens when Jesus comes again. The Lord shall descend from heaven with a shout, and then we shall go and meet with him in the air. He told those same brethren that he said that beautiful statement to in 1 Thessalonians 4, the one they quote at funerals all the time. Then he takes that and he also says to those Thessalonian brethren, if you back up to chapter 2, he said, what is my crown? What is my rejoicing? Where do I get my happiness from? He said, is it not even you at the appearing of our Lord Jesus Christ? He looked forward to the reunion, didn't he? That's what he's looking forward to. The gathering of the saints. It was all worthwhile, Lord. Look at all these people that have come to you by virtue of the message you gave to me. Praise be unto God. I am rejoicing with my brothers and sisters in Christ. So God is there. The obedient are there. The faithful loved ones who have passed on will be there. All the little children will be there. The people we had put on that list over in Hugh Packard. Heaven is a reunion, ladies and gentlemen. And the same excitement that you get about a reunion where you haven't seen somebody in a year on this earth is the multiplied excitement you get about the reunion that somebody experiences in heaven with many, many more people than that. All right. Revelation chapter 4. Did y'all get that? A lot of those imagery things that Carrie was reading to us? That's some pretty deep stuff, wasn't it? Do you realize John wasn't the only one given heavenly vision? Not the only one. There is a type of book in the Bible. So the Bible's made up of 66 books. And inside the Bible, there are certain books which are called, and you can write this down if you don't do, or just remember it and look it up, apocalyptic literature. Apocalyptic literature. It is a class of literature which is describing big, grandiose things, earth-shaking events, and so forth. Revelation is the final apocalyptic literature of the Bible. Before Revelation, which is the only apocalyptic literature as far as the full book goes, Jesus gave some sections which are apocalyptic, but John just is fully apocalyptic, the whole book. If you back up to the Old Testament, the book of Zechariah, apocalyptic literature, the book of Ezekiel, apocalyptic literature, sections of Isaiah, and many sections of Daniel. Daniel is also apocalyptic literature. Here's the kind of thing that's going to be happening, given in prophetic vision, and here's what it's like to see the spiritual conflict and the spiritual resolution to the glory of God in the heavenly vision. Of the Old Testament writers, there are at least two I'm prepared to give you a reading from, which actually saw the heavenly vision and expressed it in words as best he could. It is similar in wording to Revelation chapter 4, and we are going to look now first at Isaiah chapter 6, okay? Isaiah chapter 6. Yeah, there you go. The fancy schmancy stuff with the angels and all that. That's a poor representation, folks. Listen to what Isaiah said and see if you can pick out some similarities. Isaiah chapter 6, we're just looking at the first 5 verses in the vision. I'm reading tonight from the New American Standard. In the year of King Uzziah's death, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, lofty and exalted, with the train of his robe filling the temple. Seraphim stood above him, each having 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, with 2 he covered his feet, with 2 he flew. And one called out to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the foundations of the thresholds trembled at the voice of him who called out, while the temple was filled with smoke. Then I said, Woe is me, I'm ruined. I'm a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Okay, so what is happening here is Isaiah was greatly blessed by God to say many prophetic things. And in the vision of Isaiah chapter 6, God is impressing upon him the fact that his way is not only glorious, but his will is what's going to be done. The beings that God has made will see to it, and he will be eternally glorified among all the earth and among all of his spiritual created beings as well. Yes, that means the angels and anything else he made that is similar thereto. Sometimes fancy words are given to describe angelic type beings, or are given to describe the special beasts, the 4 creatures that are placed before the throne of God, as is typical in the scenes that are given here in both him, Ezekiel, and in Revelation. So what you've got then is a scene of everything God has made. It is impressed upon the mind as grandiose. It is big. And the bigness of it does not keep you from experiencing rest. Now, I believe this is how that works. When you first enter into the eternal, when you go up, then it's time for judgment. So you receive entrance through, as they call it, the pearly gates, right? And somebody says, well, are they physical pearly gates? They don't have to be physical pearly gates. You know what I mean. You're receiving entrance into the vision of the heavenly scene. Are you overawed? Absolutely. Heaven is glorious. Heaven is awe. Heaven is, blow the mind. All right. You've got all of that going on. But you're not tired of it, okay? Because what it is that God has released from your mind the worries of the past things that you cannot change. God has rested your soul from those things that you've already decided on in this earth. You already belong to him. You chose Jesus in life. And now God is saying your reward is peace of mind, and rest. So the first thing I said that heaven emotional-wise is that heaven is a reunion. And the second thing I would like to describe to you is that heaven is our rest. It says in Revelation chapter 14 and verse 13, I heard a voice from heaven saying, Write unto me, write, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth. Yea, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. The Apostle Paul said that God has promised rest. 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 7. And to you who are troubled, rest. He's not commanding rest there. The word rest is a noun, which is one of the few little nuggets of Greek you can pick up every now and then, because you look that up, and in the Greek, that's a noun. What he's saying is, this is your blessing. It's not a command of something you do. That's what God gives you. To you who are troubled, rest. And to those who trouble you, tribulation. So that's what he's saying right there in 2 Thessalonians 1, verse 7. What is heaven then? What is a picture of heaven? If these guys had a picture of heaven, what is the emotional picture? If God says that it's rest. The best way I've known to describe it is like this. I was asking just earlier, Brother Kerry, about his sleep routine, about when he gets up. And let's just say he gets up earlier than the preacher does. So, as he is going through his night's rest, he does not get up, though, at 3 a.m. Let's back it up to 3, okay? 3 a.m. Something goes bump in the night. Y'all have had that, right? It done went bump in the night. And you wake up. And you don't know what's going on, but pretty soon you realize there ain't nothing going on. And then the next thing is you realize, I'm pretty nice and warm and cozy here. This bed's feeling pretty good. You look over and it says 3 a.m. on the clock, and you're like, I don't have to get up yet. Well, I think I can just, let's just go back into this. And you just go right back into sleep. That is some of the best things in that few moments right there. When you realize, I ain't got anywhere to go right now. I'm feeling pretty good. My body's, all in my little comfy spot and everything. I'm just going to go right back off into my little nap. That, ladies and gentlemen, that moment is captured in heaven. It's captured. The joy of reunion. The moment of rest. God says, I've got that for you. I know what it's like to have a singleness of mind, a single purpose. You're not worried about the things that had beset you upon this earth. You are opening yourself up to a new existence, and you are prepared to do so because you are restful. You're at rest now. You're at peace with yourself and with me. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. That's your picture of heaven, folks. Now, if we go to Ezekiel's picture, okay, let's go now to Ezekiel chapter 1. So if you're turning there in your Bible or looking on your little app, this would be Ezekiel 1, and we're going to pick up at verse 4. Verse 4. Man, this one is fancy. Ezekiel's vision of God. As I looked, behold, a storm wind was coming from the north, a great cloud with fire flashing forth continually, a bright light around it, and in its midst, something like glowing metal in the midst of the fire. Within it there were figures resembling 4 living beings. This was their appearance. They had human form. Each of them had 4 faces and 4 wings. And their legs were straight, and their feet were like a calf's hoof, and they gleamed like burnished bronze. Under their wings and on the 4 sides were human hands. And as for the faces and wings of the 4 of them, their wings touched one another. Their faces did not turn when they moved. Each went straight forward. And as for the form of their faces, each had the face of a man. All 4 had the face of a lion on the right, the face of a bull on the left. All 4 had the face of an eagle. Such were their faces. Their wings were spread out above. Each had 2 touching another being, and 2 covering their bodies. And each went straight forward. And wherever the Spirit was about to go, they would go, without turning as they went. In the midst of the living beings, there was something that looked like burning coals of fire, like torches darting back and forth among the living beings. The fire was bright, and lightning was flashing from the fire. And the living beings ran to and fro like bolts of lightning. Now, as I looked at the living beings, behold, there was one wheel on the earth beside the living beings, for each of the four of them. The appearance of the wheels and their workmanship was like sparkling beryl. All four of them had the same form, their appearance and workmanship being as if one wheel were within another. Whenever they moved in any of the four directions without turning as they moved. As for their rims, they were lofty and awesome, and the rims of all four of them were full of eyes round about. Whenever the living beings moved, the wheels moved with them. Whenever the living beings rose from the earth, the wheels rose also. Wherever the Spirit was about to go, they would go in that direction, and the wheels rose and closed beside them, for the Spirit of the living beings was in the wheels. Whenever these went, those went, these went. And whenever those stood still, these stood still. And whenever those rose from the earth, the wheels rose close beside them, for the Spirit of the living beings was in the wheels. Okay, we're going to pick up at verse 22 in a minute, which really gets interesting. And I'll show you the final graphic, which doesn't really, it's just there for imagination purposes. What he's doing here is describing the will of God, the infinite mind of God, pushing out and executing his will among the things that he has created. Okay, do you all remember in the Bible it's saying that they should have an Ark of the Covenant, and inside the Ark you would have the Ten Commandments, and you would have Aaron's rod that budded, and you would have a sample of the manna that he gave them in the wilderness, okay? That was in the Ark that they carried around, they put in the tabernacle, and later on in the temple. The people trusted too much in the physical Ark, and so God took it away from them. However, while they had it, God said, here's how you treat it, and here's how it should look. They put a cap, a top to that Ark, and on that there were cherubim. And so we sing sometimes in that song, Brother Barry, I forget the title to it, the one we sing about cherubim and seraphim fall down before him. Who was and are and evermore shall be. Holy, 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 right? Is that the title? That's the title? Okay. Something like that. Something like that. So we sing about cherubim and seraphim. These are angelic-like, although possibly other natured beings of even more close connection to the Lord, that are in the heavenly scene. And isn't that consistent with what you were seeing in Revelation 4 as well? That's what John saw too. He's like, yeah, I saw that same kind of thing, Ezekiel. And they are talking about how that the center of God's will, the essence of the spiritual nature of God, is within and exuding out from them. And they are directing the worship of God, and they are directing the response of awe and glory before the Lord. So heaven is, for your third thing, heaven is impressive. So heaven is a great reunion with those that you have loved from the past and those who have had like precious faith. Heaven is your rest that you receive from God as a reward. Heaven, ladies and gentlemen, is the impression of greatness. It is much better than any of the great wonders of the earth that you can travel to. I've never gone, although I'd love to go to see one day, the Great Canyon, the Grand Canyon. Some of y'all here have been to see it, right? Okay, a bunch of y'all. Yeah, several of y'all. The Grand Canyon, I'm sure it's incredibly impressive. I'd love to see and stand up near the rim of some of those huge volcano calderas, like over in Hawaii and stuff like that. Ooh, I'd love to be there when Kilauea is doing one of its 1,500-foot lava spew fountains. Wouldn't that be cool? And you're watching that from over in the rim of the caldera, because they let you get up there and watch it, because it's a stable volcano. They just watch you, let you watch it spew as long as the wind's in the right direction. That would be incredible. Folks, it's nothing compared to the impression, the impressiveness of heaven. God impresses people with His will and with His glory by virtue of it going forth from His spiritual beings, which have the wings of God. That is, they speed the will and spirit of God wherever so is that the Lord wills it to go and be. All right, let's pick up in Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 22 now. Ezekiel 1, verse 22. Now, over the heads of the living beings, there was something like an expanse, like the awesome gleam of crystal spread out over their heads. Under the expanse, their wings were stretched out straight, one toward the other. Each one also had 2 wings covering its body on the one side and on the other. I also heard the sound of their wings like the sound of abundant waters as they went, like the voice of the Almighty. A sound of tumult, like the sound of an army camp. Whenever they stood still, they dropped their wings. And there came a voice from above the expanse that was over their heads, whenever they stood still, and they dropped their wings. Now, above the expanse that was over their heads, there was something resembling a throne, like this translation says lapis lazuli, in appearance. And on that, I'm not going to stop there and explain anything, okay? Anyway, on that which resembles the throne, high up. You can see how even the translators are struggling, folks. They're struggling for the words. It was a figure with the appearance of a man. Then I noticed from the appearance of his loins and upward, something like glowing metal that looked like fire all around and within. And from the appearance of his loins downward, I saw something like fire, and there was radiance around it, as the appearance of the rainbow in the clouds on a rainy day. So was the appearance of the surrounding radiance. Such was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. And when I saw it, I fell on my face. Ezekiel was about to receive the revelation of God, and God was impressing upon him just exactly what it is he was receiving. Now, this leads me into my next description of heaven. When you get to heaven, then what is it that you're going to experience? Heaven, ladies and gentlemen, is like a bright summer's day. Revelation 7, verses 9 through 17. I'm not going to give you another Bible reading. I'll just give you the reference. You can look it up later. Heaven's a bright summer's day. When we go out in this earth, and it is a bright summer day, you look out, and I have never experienced greater physical joy as a child than being out there on the ridge and in the old days, and we don't have it anymore. I hate that because I'm going to get it back. I'll get something better than that. When I was a boy, I could go out there and everything was bright and beautiful. And on the top of the ridge where the tree line gave way, then there were incredible amounts of wildflowers. Wild carrot, various lilies, different kinds of blooming grasses of just, all kinds of sorts. Various yellows and shades of purple and this, that, and the other. And that was on a field which was not cut for hay back then. It is now, so it's grass. But back then, it was all wildflower. Butterflies. Massive amounts of butterflies swarming over those. It was incredible. And I would go out there, and you would see just all kinds of bees and everything too, just working like crazy on those. And you go around, you just pick some of the flowers and look at them. And the only thing that was difficult is that it's a bright summer's day. You can't look directly up into the source of that light, the sun. In heaven, folks, in heaven, You get to see the beauty. And then the Lord allows you, look into my face. Look and see. See what it's like. You get to see. Back here on the earth, we only get to see a little bit. There, you get to see it. And so that's what God describes heaven is like. It's that brightness. It's the bright summer's day. It's the fire that burns that you're allowed to see. And you're allowed to see that directly in the way that it truly is, the expression of the all-powerful one, the Almighty. Revelation chapter 5. Revelation chapter 5. We're not going to read all of chapter 5. Brother Kerry has already read to us the beginning of the heavenly vision in chapter 4. Chapter 5 continues the heavenly vision. There's not anything going on much in chapter 5. It starts the action in Revelation 6. Chapter 5 is a continuation of the heavenly vision. Listen to this for just a moment, then I'll finish the pictures and the lesson is yours. I saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne a book written inside and on the back, sealed up with 7 seals. I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, "Who is worthy to open the book and to break its seals?" No one in heaven or on earth or under the earth was able to open the book or to look into it. I began to weep greatly because no one was found worthy to open the book or to look into it. One of the elders said to me, "Stop weeping. Behold, the Lion that is from the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has overcome so as to open the book and its 7 seals." I saw between the throne with the 4 living creatures and the elders a lamb standing as if slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God, sent out into all the earth. He came and he took the book out of the right hand of him who sat on the throne. And when he had taken the book, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, each one holding a harp and a golden bowl full of incense, which are the prayers of the saints. And they sang a new song, saying, "Worthy are you to take the book, to break its seals, for you were slain and purchased for God with your blood men from every tribe and tongue and people and nation. And you have made them to be a kingdom and priests to our God, and they will reign upon the earth." Folks, heaven is your vindication. The Lord is there, and he, your king, delivers up the kingdom unto the Father. And you know, I was right. It was right to be a Christian. It was right to worship him. It was right so that I could see this and that I could be a part of all of those who are written in the Lamb's Book of Life. If there is someone here this evening and you are not written in the Lamb's Book of Life, you don't get to see it, folks. You don't get to experience it. Heaven is surely worth it all. And it's worth it for you not only to understand the scriptures that are given to us, but for you to be able to experience everything that it has to offer you, and so much more than this. I'm simply out of time is all. But the Lord has all of that and more waiting for you if you'll just come to him as we stand and sing our song.